Trading Dallas Goedert would be a mistake. It's that simple. This would be a mistake by Howie Roseman. And that is controversial to say at this point because it is simply in Howie we trust. Any move that is questioned, you just immediately go to, well, Howie's going to figure it out, as if Howie has never once made a mistake. He's human. He makes errors. It's fine. And I think that trading Dallas Goedert would be one of those errors. Now, let me just say I'm not in love with Dallas Goedert at all. Far from it, actually. And I'll go into my reasons on why this would be a mistake. But do you remember that feeling you had when the Eagles traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Do you remember that? You remember that feeling of why are they doing this exactly? Seemed like C.J. was a great fit. He brought a sense of attitude to the team that was probably desperately needed. This doesn't make a ton of sense. And then what did you follow it up with? Well, Howie must know. It's Howie. Howie makes no mistakes. And maybe he's right. Maybe trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson is nothing more than a good move and a salary dump. And maybe he was, I don't know, not great in the locker room. Whatever. Maybe that move won't matter. And I think that the Vic Fangio defense is so good that you can get by without having a C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Much like I think that this offense is so good that you can get by without having a Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is not the focal point of the Eagles offense. Not one that has, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and if you want, you can even include Jalen Hurts with his legs. Dallas Goedert is a fourth, fifth option at times. So the offense would be able to survive without Dallas Goedert. The reason why I think this is a mistake is if you trade Dallas Goedert, and let's say you recoup some picks, which you think that they would do because they don't have a ton of holes, but you recoup some picks, you trade Dallas Goedert, he's going into the last year of his deal. They're probably not going to re-sign him, which I am a fan of that move. But you're ushering in the Grant Calcaterra era. Are you ready for the Grant Calcaterra era? Because I am not. I'm not ready for the era of ushering in a tight end who retired from football at one point because of concussions, who's a good pass catcher but can't really block much. Kind of a one-trick pony. Yeah, I'm not ready for him to be my number one tight end. Now, you might go, well, they just drafted tight end in the first round, and they should. They should 100% draft a tight end. Dallas Goedert now is 2 years older than when Zach Ertz saw the Eagles draft Dallas Goedert. So this is a move that probably should have been addressed, but last year, how can you complain about the draft? You end up getting Quainion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in rounds 1 and 2. No complaints there at all. Jalix Hunt actually looks like a player as well in round 3. So I'm not necessarily complaining about how he did with the picks, but this has been long overdue when you look at the history of the Eagles. And they did it years before, right? They did it with, Brent Selleck was a 5th-round pick, but then they ended up taking Zach Ertz when you also had Brent Selleck there to kind of have that bridge, okay, the future's coming and this is it. But the reason why it would be such a bad move for the Eagles to trade Dallas Goedert at this point is to expect a rookie tight end to make an impact in the NFL, no matter where they're drafted in the draft, is a mistake. And that sounds idiotic because we just saw Brock Bowers eclipse the 1,000-yard mark in his rookie year. But historically speaking, when you look at tight ends drafted in round 1, when you look at those guys, they don't make an impact their first year. It takes them a little bit. And I'm talking about some of the greats, some of the all-time greats. If you look at Rob Gronkowski and his rookie year, the dude had 400 yards maybe, 500 yards. It wasn't much. It wasn't like the Gronk Gronk really broke out his second year. That first year, he was okay, but he wasn't Gronk. And as I look now, his first year, he had 556 yards. Okay. Now, maybe Gronk's an outlier, you say. Maybe you go, okay, it's one guy. What about Sam Laporta? Sam Laporta had a great rookie year, right? In touchdowns, he did. Sure, red zone threat, Sam Laporta was phenomenal. 889 yards his rookie year. You take that all day because that is actually one of the better rookie years. And maybe the NFL is changing. Like maybe this argument that I'm having is dumb because of the fact that teams are using their rookie tight ends differently than they have previous seasons. So by looking at my argument, Sam Laporta and Brock Bowers dispel it. Rob Gronkowski was over a decade ago, fine. Let's look at some other guys. All right, TJ Hawkinson, Optimus Prime, drafted top 10. What did he do his rookie year? 367 yards. 367 yards for a top 10 pick. TJ Hawkinson's one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the NFL. Okay. Let's look at here Dallas Goedert. Now keep in mind they had a guy. They had some Ertz guy. What did Dallas Goedert do his rookie year? 334. What about Dalton Kincaid? Dalton Kincaid his rookie year. Same thing. First round pick. First round pick by Dalton Kincaid. What did he do his rookie year? 673 yards. Like that's a really good rookie year for a rookie tight end. That's about as best as you can expect, I think. A Dalton Kincaid 670-ish yards year. But that isn't incredible. And if you're drafting a guy in the first round, you're expecting more of an impact. So my point is, if you end up trading Dallas Goedert and you go into the year with a Grant Calcaterra / rookie tight end combo, I'm not really looking at that as making much of an impact. I don't have a ton of faith in Grant Calcaterra, and rookie tight ends fail a lot of times to get on the field immediately just because of their blocking ability. A lot of times, these guys that are looked at as pass-catching tight ends, they'll get on the field just because they can catch a ball, but they also have to work a lot on their blocking at the NFL level, and that kind of hinders the progression because they spend a lot of their time in their rookie year working on the blocking aspect and not working on route running and catching the ball and all that. So when I look at the Eagles, yeah, is trading a Dallas Goedert the end of the world? No, it's not. I said at the beginning, like I'm not a big Dallas Goedert fan. And the reason why I'm not a big Dallas Goedert fan is just simply he's never healthy. Ever. Like what was the one thing we always said about Zach Ertz? The one criticism that everybody said about Zach Ertz. No yak Zach. That's it. Zach Ertz would catch a lot of balls. He would catch a lot of balls for a lot of yards, but he would fight for nothing. He would rarely get upfield. He would rarely look to initiate contact. He basically would catch the ball and get down right away. Whereas Dallas Goedert initiates contact. Like he will lower his shoulder. He will stiff arm. He wants to embarrass guys. He wants to run them over. And that is great. And you know what that leads to? Injuries. And that is why when you look at Dallas Goedert, last year, 10 games. The year before that, 14. The year before that, 12. The year before that, 15, 11, 15. He only played a full season in his rookie season. And every other year, he has dealt with injuries. So I am fine with getting a replacement in line for when his contract is up, you can move on. But I am not fine with simply moving on from him for the sake of moving on. Are you planning to do what with that money? You move on from Dallas Goedert. What are you planning to do this year with that savings? Where are you putting it? I would like to know. Or are you simply just moving on because, hey, we can get more draft picks? Because you're going to get draft picks no matter what, the compensatory picks, when he moves on anyway. So I don't really understand the logic of, like, let's putting him on the block. Because it feels like, to me, you're putting Dallas Goedert on the block for the sake of putting him on the block. I want a replacement for Dallas Goedert. But I don't want it this year. Because this year means you are going into the season with Grant Calcaterra and some rookie. And it's not exactly the best rookie tight end draft in the world. So I want the guy to learn, and I want the guy to ease into it. But I want the guy to ease into it because you already have Dallas Goedert there. You know, Dallas Goedert, for all of his credit of playing hard, I think it's going to end up costing him years off his NFL career because Zach Ertz is still doing it, even with the title No Yak Zach. Well, he's still doing it because he didn't initiate all this contact. You know, his body isn't what it was, but he's still able to get the job done because of the fact that he was able to protect his body in key moments. Dallas Goedert doesn't do that. He fights for every yard, and that's great. It also leads to 10 games, 12 games, missing time. So while the Eagles absolutely need to have a contingency plan in place, and they absolutely need to draft a tight end in rounds 1 or 2, what they don't need to do is trade this dude. Because their other option is not great. All right, let's start out with the good. The Phillies won the weekend series against the Marlins. Now let's get into the bad. The fact that they blew Sunday's game, losing 7-5 to the Florida Marlins thanks to their putrid bullpen. Now, I did a video last week about the issues that this Phillies team has. And I'll use the same preface with that video that I'll use for this video. It's April. It's early. I'm not hitting a panic switch. I think that there's a problem on the internet where people think that because you're bringing up an issue, it means that all of a sudden you are going off in the streets and just hitting the panic button and knocking on doors and saying the British are coming. Like, no, it's not that deep, okay? Because these issues can be fixed. But here's what you notice in April baseball is you walk around and you go like, okay, Brandon Marsh, issue. Max Kepler, There was one thing that I didn't bring up. And as soon as I hit publish on that video, I thought, okay, forgot this. But hey, maybe I'll get lucky and maybe they'll fix that issue and I'll never have to make that video. It didn't happen. The issue is the bullpen. The bullpen is a major issue. Now, when you look at the bullpen, in my opinion, they have 2 relievers. They have 2. That is it. They have Jose Alvarado and they have Matt Strahm. And everybody else is cheeks. They're not good. Now, I know that everybody's all Orion Kerkeringed up. Everybody loves the Orion Kerkering story. You know, within 1 year, he makes it to the major leagues. His dad's crying. It's a great story, no doubt, okay? And Lord only knows how much we heard about that devastating sweeper. I hate the term sweeper. But Lord only knows how much we heard about that. And Orion Kerkering was so hyped up when he first arrived as this, like, unhittable reliever. It was kind of like the Ken Giles hype from, back in, 2015? Where you were just made to believe that this dude was Teflon. That there was nobody who could hit this guy when he was on. And he's been okay. But he was the reason why they ended up blowing Sunday's game. He ended up taking the loss. His ERA is 4.5. And when I look at Orion Kerkering, he is a really good reliever in low leverage situations. You can't trust him in mid-level situations or leverage situations. You can't trust him in high leverage situations. He's not that Ryan Madsen type from the 2008 team, the bridge to Lich. He's not that. If you want a guy to go out there in a 3-4 run game in the 6th inning, Orion Kerkering is your guy. If you want a setup guy in the 8th inning in a 2-run game, I don't want to see Orion Kerkering because I just don't think he's built for it. And that's okay. Some guys are, some guys aren't. Lord only knows, when I played baseball, I choked with runners in scoring position. My father, who was the coach, will tell you that. I was the worst person to have up. If there were guys on base, I was striking out because I would just get in my head. And maybe that's the issue with Orion Kerkering. Yeah, I just compared myself to a Major League Baseball player because I sucked back in, Little League in 1998. That's neither here nor there. Orion Kerkering is not a high leverage reliever. They have Jose Alvarado. They have Matt Strahm. That's it. And the fact that they haven't named Jose Alvarado the closer already is mind-boggling to me. Just do it. I don't have many issues with Rob Thompson during the Rob Thompson era because they've won a lot of baseball games and they've had more success under Rob Thompson than I've seen since, Charlie Manuel. It was like Charlie Manuel, crap. Okay, Rob Thompson. But one of the issues I have is he refuses to name a closer. And baseball players are creatures of habit. There's that whole RFK thing going around of people with autism will never play baseball. And it's laughable because of the fact that baseball players are the biggest creatures of habit we've ever seen. And one of the creatures of habit tendencies they have is they like to know where their role is. And Rob Thompson coming in and not naming a closer is frustrating to me because I know, just speaking with former baseball players, that they like knowing exactly what their plan is, exactly what they're going to be doing. I think at this point, though, it is Jose Alvarado. He seems to be taking the majority of the 9th inning. But when you look at the Phillies' bullpen, it is trash after Alvarado and Strahm. I mean, you're looking at Tanner Banks, who's okay. He's been okay. And I want to see more of him. But I'm not enamored with Tanner Banks. Jordan Romano is this year's Juris Familia. Like, if you remember, the Phillies signed Juris Familia, I think 2 years ago, and they signed him in a $7 million contract. And I think Jordan Romano got a little bit more than that. He might have gotten like 10 this year, but it wasn't much more. It was a reclamation project. It was like a, hey, you've been good in the past. You weren't good last year. Let's see if maybe a change of scenery can help. Caleb Kaufman do his thing, and we can get you back to that dominant pitcher that you were. And until he is that dominant pitcher, I'm not calling him Romano. No, bud. Not with that ERA. You're Jordan Romano. If you want to earn your actual name, and you want to earn the Romano title, if you want to put some stank on your name, fine, get somebody out. But you haven't. He's been terrible. 15.26 ERA. And I assume that it's going to be very similar to Juris Familia, where if you remember, the Phillies made a couple of deadline moves, and they ended up releasing Juris Familia. They cut bait. They said, you know what, this ain't working out. Deuces, kick rocks, we're done. And I think the same thing's probably going to happen with Jordan Romano. Because at this point, Rob Thompson is like, I don't know where to put him. It seems like anytime I put him, in the ninth inning, he's imploding. And do I put him in the sixth? And of course, we get the age-old, like, the T-Mac story of, and I'm not blaming T-Mac on this, but it's he was working with Caleb Cotham, and they think they've discovered something. They think they've fixed it. They haven't fixed shit with Jordan Romano. He sucks. He's cooked. They need to cut bait. And that was your big off-season bullpen move, was signing this guy. Hasn't worked out. It's been dreadful. Jose Ruiz. Jose Ruiz has a 6 ERA. Carlos Hernandez, claimed off waivers from the Royals. I think we just found out why the Royals cut bait on him. His ERA is 9. For whatever reason, Joe Ross has been in 8 games already. His ERA is 7.45. What are we doing? This bullpen is an issue. Dave Dombrowski went out and he addressed the starting rotation. And at the time, I wasn't a huge fan of it, even though I liked Jesus Luzardo. I just wasn't a huge fan of the idea of doing it because I thought this team needed other areas of improvement. But to his credit, that Jesus Luzardo move has been stellar. Jesus Luzardo is trending to be the Cy Young winner right now. The guy is unhittable. And that move has been a masterstroke by Dave Dombrowski. But on the flip side, if Jesus Luzardo can only give you 7 innings, God forbid, then the next 2 innings are going to be harem scarum. And that's the issue. Now, this can be fixed. But let's take a look at the Dave Dombrowski moves when it comes to the bullpen, because in my opinion, he's had 3 good ones. 3, that is it. He traded for Jose Alvarado. Very good move. He signed Matt Strahm. Very good move. Oh, there was one more that I forget. It might only be those 2. No, there's definitely one more. There's definitely one more in there. I mean, if you want to go drafting Orion Kirkland, but I won't give you that. There is one more, and I do want to give him credit, and if I think of it, of course, I'll cut in with it. But for the most part, it was Hoffman. But I don't even know if I can give him credit on the Hoffman move because it was really Bryce Harper who went to Lehigh Valley, did a simulated game there. Hoffman was pitching to him, and he's like, why the hell isn't this guy in the majors? Like, this guy is really, really good. And if you remember, Jeff Hoffman was going to opt out of his Phillies contract because he wasn't on a major league team. And Bryce Harper went to Dave Dombrowski and was like, this guy's better than like half our bullpen. Can we bring him up? And they kept him. Like, I vividly remember seeing the MLB Trade Rumors tweet that said Jeff Hoffman opts out of Phillies contract. And then he decided, you know what, no, I'll stay because they called him up because of the Bryce Harper thing. So I don't even know if you can give Dave Dombrowski credit on the Jeff Hoffman move because he wasn't going to bring him up until your best player basically made a pitch for him. But I think Jeff Hoffman is a good example of you can fix this. And you can fix this mid-season. Now, when I look at a possible internal option a la a Matt Hoffman for this season, there is only one that I can think of currently that would make some sense. And if like a Jordan Romano were to go on the IL, it wouldn't be an injury, it would be like, hey, get your head right kind of move. The internal name that I would go with is Koyo Aogi. And I am probably butchering that name, okay? But it's Koyo and then Aoyagi, so Koyo Aogi maybe. But Koyo Aogi, however you want to say it, was the Japanese player the Phillies signed in the offseason because they thought, well, people want Roque Sasaki. Well, we're not going to give him that, but we'll give him this dude. But all jokes aside, he was a former closer in Japan, a very good closer in Japan, had a really, really good career. The Phillies signed him for not much money, bringing him over. They've stored him in Lehigh Valley for the time being. He didn't make the team, obviously, out of spring training, and he's pitched really well in Lehigh Valley. In 7 games, he's got a 1.29 ERA, so he's given up 1 run. He's got 8 strikeouts. His whip is 1 on the dot. I would like to see him brought up over Jordan Romano, over Carlos Hernandez, over Joe Ross. Like, at this point, I'm at the, hey, I don't know if this guy's good, but I know he's not those guys. So I would call him up just to see if, he could possibly be something for them. Because at this point, what do they have to lose? Now, I will end up looking in the 40-man because I don't think he's on the 40-man, which would require you to make a move. So let's take a look at, as my computer fails to load. He's the only one, though, that I can think of in terms of, like, bringing somebody up. Maybe they bring up, like, a Michael Mercado. I don't think so. And it doesn't look like a Yogi is on. No, he's not. And Michael Mercado is. So maybe Mercado might actually be the guy that would get optioned out. But there's a couple of guys here that are on the minors that you just go like, is this a real person? On the 40-man that you can obviously designate for assignment to make a move there. That would be an interesting one. I don't have a ton of faith that Dave Dombrowski will be able to build a competent bullpen because he's tried this before. He traded for Ian Kennedy, and I liked the move at the time. I did. Ian Kennedy was having a really good year with the Texas Rangers. Didn't work out. Last year, he traded for Carlos Estevez. Didn't work out. Carlos Estevez was lights out when it came to his ERA. When it came to inheriting runners, he was horrible. You saw that in the playoffs. Like, he has made attempts to fix bullpens, and I think he's failed at it. And I don't have a ton of faith that this will be any different, but I do have a lot of faith that he will at least make an attempt to do so. But it's a problem. I mean, the Phillies bullpen is a legitimate problem right now when you're throwing out 4 guys with ERAs over 5. And you're putting them in high leverage, middle leverage situations. But hey, that's the thing about April baseball. Like, this is the time to kind of figure out if a guy can be something a la, like, let's see if Joe Ross can pitch well for us out of the bullpen. Let's see if we can find a diamond in the rough in Carlos Hernandez. He didn't. Okay, fine. What's the next move? Because while you can't lose a division you can't win a division in April. You can lose it. You know what I'm talking about. All right, anyway, go Phils. Well, the NFL draft is tomorrow. I'm recording this on a Wednesday, so it's the day before the NFL draft. And the Eagles hold the 32nd overall pick because I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Eagles won the Super Bowl, which is cool. So the Eagles hold the 32nd overall pick in this year's draft, which will be the last pick, if you're unaware, of the first round. It's going to take a little bit for Eagles fans to find out who the newest bird is, but I think it's pretty clear we're all on the same page, right? Vontae Mack no matter what. Now, guilty pleasure is the movie Draft Day. I'll never forget that movie. There was a trailer for it. I forget what I was watching, but there was a trailer for that movie, and I said, that movie looks horrible. Fast forward 4 months later, it's in August on a Tuesday. Guess who's at a 10 o'clock showing of Draft Day? This guy right here. Yeah, it's a bad, good movie that I end up watching just about every single draft day. But to get to the actual football part, the actual real-life team of the Philadelphia Eagles, with the first 2 picks in this year's draft, I don't have any names for you because I'm not going to pretend to be a draft expert. I'm not going to pretend to watch any team other than Temple, and trust me, that was tough. That was an uphill battle this year and for the last bunch of years. But I have 2 positions that need to be addressed in rounds 1 and 2. Now, if you remember last year, the Eagles hit a massive home run in the draft by getting Quinyon Mitchell in round 1, the first cornerback taken off the board from Toledo. Absolute stud, Quinyon Bay. And then in the second round, they trade up for Cooper DeJean, who at the time it was like, we were thinking about taking this guy in round 1. Now we're getting him in round 2. It reminded me a lot of the year that they took Winston Justice. And Winston Justice, I think, gets a bad rap by Eagles fans because you forget, like, he actually did turn himself into a pretty decent tackle. He ended up getting an extension. Juan Castillo did yeoman's work with Winston Justice. But when they took Winston Justice in round 2, he was considered to be a possible pick in round 1 when they ended up trading up for Broderick Bunkley. But kind of got sidetracked there. They hit a home run last year in the draft. They get 2 impact rookies right away. This year, I'm not looking for that. I'm not really looking for the impact rookie. I'm looking for the rookie that will make an impact next year, the year after, and can learn behind 2 vets. I don't know who they are. I don't know what their names are. But in round 1 or 2, I need a left tackle. No, I don't. I need a right tackle. Jesus. Hit thumbs down for that. I need a right tackle because their left tackle is a stud. Don't know why I said left tackle. Look, I'm not running a lot of sleep, folks. I had a late hockey game and couldn't sleep last night. So I need a right tackle and I need a tight end. It is that simple. I need the future right tackle of this team and I need the future tight end. I have been clamoring for the Birds to draft a future right tackle for the last 2 years at this point. And luckily they didn't do it because Lane Johnson is still here. But every year I feel like it is Anchorman with Panda Watch, but we're on Lane Johnson watch. And you're just waiting for the news that Lane Johnson will end up retiring. He's basically the last guy left, the last elder statesman of this team, of like the old guard of Kelsey and Cox and Brandon Graham, and it was Lane Johnson. Like, that was your leadership core. You wonder how many years he has left. And every year at the end of the season, I kind of wait on bated breath for the news of what's Lane Johnson going to do. And luckily, it seems like every year he just restructures and it becomes a moot point whether or not they drafted his replacement. But you just get the sense that it's like a ticking time bomb situation. And what I don't want to have happen is I don't want Lane Johnson to retire. Then you're forced to focus on getting his replacement in the draft and throwing a rookie at right tackle to protect Jalen Hurts. That's what I don't want to have happen. What I do want to have happen is you draft the future right tackle to sit back and learn behind this guy. That's what I want. I want that dude learning behind arguably the best right tackle in his generation. Now, I don't know how much Lane Johnson can teach, you know. It might be God-given. I don't even know if he's interested in mentoring a kid. I get the sense he is. He would be open to it just because he seems like that kind of guy. Every interaction I've ever had with him has been great. I don't get the sense he'd be like an Aaron Rodgers situation with Jordan Love or a Brett Favre situation with Aaron Rodgers. But I just don't like the idea of throwing a rookie at right tackle when this guy eventually decides, you know what, I've done everything there is to do in this game. I'm hanging it up. So I really would like them to get a kid in the building, learn under not only Lane Johnson, but learn under Jeff Stoutland, learn the system. And then let's say Lane next year decides to retire. Boom, you slide this kid in. He's been sitting for a year. He's been learning. He's been holding the clipboard. He's been developing. And, you know, you don't have that rookie learning curve that you normally would have. And you also have to factor in that the Eagles are probably going to be drafting the back end of the draft for the foreseeable future. So that's another reason why I want to get the future in the building now, where he doesn't have to learn on the fly. Because if you're taking a right tackle, let's say with pick 32, you're taking that future right tackle. If you have to throw him into the fire, there's a pretty good chance that he's not the first right tackle taken off the board. He's probably the third, the fourth, whatever. But the odds are the first right tackle is not being taken at pick 32. And that first right tackle at pick 32, no one's saying like, oh, wow, it's a stud. Lane Johnson was drafted the 4th overall pick in a horrible 2013 draft. So that's another reason why. You're not taking a can't-miss prospect at pick 32 at the right tackle position. If you were to take one, it's even more of a reason, I think, to just draft and let that kid sit, learn, and develop. In the second position, I made a video about this. It's tight end. I know Dallas Goedert's on the trade block. I don't quite understand why. It's not like I'm opposed to moving on from Dallas Goedert when his contract is up. In fact, I'm a big favor of it. But I want that future tight end in the building. And I don't think that future tight end is Grant Calcaterra. I made the point in the other video. Grant Calcaterra retired from football for concussions. Football is a pretty dangerous sport, you know. It's a contact sport. That's Dallas Goedert. He can't finish a full season healthy because of the fact that he initiates contact. It seems like every time he touches the ball. So because of that, I don't like the idea of having Grant Calcaterra be my number one tight end. When Dallas Goedert leaves, I need a tight end. And I think unquestioned they will address tight end in the first 2 picks of this draft. Right tackle, I don't know about, though. And I would like them to do that. That would be cool to me if they address those 2 positions. Other than that, the Eagles are in a really good position. You know, you look up and down the line and you just go like, you can always use more defensive ends. That would be cool. Safety, I guess. You know, I mean, they did trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson. How much faith do they have in Sidney Brown? I mean, he's been learning for 2 years. Okay, maybe. You know, but they don't have these glaring holes and weaknesses that you go like, you need to take X, Y, or Z like a lot of teams do. So the Eagles are in a really good position. I'm interested to see who they take. Whenever they do take them, I'll get some guy who is an expert to come on here and wax poetic about the pick or lambaste the pick. Lambaste? As I said, folks, I'm legitimately, it's like 2.5 hours sleep. So just smash thumbs down for that. But NFL draft tomorrow, and I'll end with a quick story. I used to be really into the NFL draft. Like, I used to be this guy that would watch college football all the time. And in high school, I can hear people just tuning out for this story that you didn't ask for. In high school, me and my buddy, Charlie O'Connor, who now works for PHLY, doing flyer stuff, we made a 300-page draft Bible just for fun. Like, we just did this for fun. And there was a class at Cardinal Doherty called Senior Seminar where I could have gotten a grade for this. Did I do that? No. That's probably why I didn't get into Temple, because of genius moves like that. I'm literally doing the project. I'm doing what Senior Seminar would be. I could have gotten a grade for it. I could have done well on it. And instead, me and my buddy decide we're going to do a 300-page draft Bible with breakdowns, 2 mock drafts, sleeper pick, all that. And that was for the 2007 draft. And I knew that draft inside and out. And then after a while, it just like there was other sports and life got in the way and stuff. But I do miss being so locked into the draft. And I feel like this year kind of just snuck up on me. And that's a bad job by me. But yeah, I at this point recognize that I'm not the quote unquote, maybe I never was the expert, but I will get somebody on here to break down the picks that actually does know. Probably Andrew Jacheco from 97.5 The Fanatic, who does an incredible job for them, and he breaks it down like no other when it comes to all these prospects. He knows all these guys and whatnot. So I'll look to get Andrew on once the picks are made. But yeah, I don't know how to wrap this up, so I'll just